Welcome to the Coach Faith and Living podcast, where women who lead learn to walk out real life faith beyond Sunday. We help strong, purpose-driven women like you navigate life, leadership, and spiritual growth with confidence, clarity, and Christ at the center. If you're ready for honest conversations, practical coaching, and the kind of sisterhood that strengthens your soul, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome to the fourth part of the This Woman is Tired series. Today, we are talking about faith without boundaries is dead. This episode is for the woman who feels like saying no is not being Christ-like. You can't set boundaries because you feel like you will go to hell if you establish a boundary. This is for you. This is real, and this is something that we need to talk about. So I want you to type in the comments, if your faith had a do not disturb sign, what would it say? Terry, you want to talk about women resisting boundaries?
Yes. So let's be honest. For a lot of us, especially women of faith, boundaries feel like we're being unfaithful in our spiritual practices, right? So somewhere along the line, we have learned that being Christ-like meant to be constantly available. Like we're supposed to be constantly available because we're supposed to be helpers. That love meant always saying yes, never resting. And if someone was disappointed, then you must have missed God in the whole thing. And so we just keep showing up. We keep stretching. We keep giving even when we're tired. Look, this hits wives because you're trying to be supportive, patient, and understanding. It hits mothers because your needs, they never get answered. They never stop calling your name, right? And it hits leaders and helpers because people depend on you, and you don't want to let anybody down. But there's the truth that we don't say out loud. Boundaries don't make you selfish. They make you sustainable. They protect your peace. One of the biggest myths about being a woman of faith is that you believe if I set a boundary, I'm not being loving. Love without limits turns into resentment. We just talked about that in our last episode, right? Love without limits makes you resentful. Service without rest turns into burnout, aka resentment. And obedience without discernment turns into overextension. And so Jesus himself modeled boundaries. He withdrew to pray. He didn't heal everybody that wanted him to. He didn't give everybody access to him like that. And he said yes to the Father, even when that meant saying no to everybody that was following him, everybody that wanted his attention and his touch and his healing or his word. So if we reframe all of that and realize that you can be obedient and unavailable at the same time, like you can turn your do not disturb on and be unavailable to the world and still be obedient to God. Sometimes that's what you need to do so that you can be obedient to God. You're not just unavailable to the world, but that makes you unavailable to guilt and unrealistic expectations and unavailable to assignments that you took on that God never gave you. So boundaries are not rebellion. They are getting yourself aligned with God. I know for me, when I set those boundaries of what time I'm getting up, what time I'm turning my phone off and on, like that turns the world off for me so that I can sit down and pray or that I can sit down and study. Like that leads to alignment instead of rebellion. And those boundaries help protect your yes to God. But yes, the things that he actually has called to you, that he's handing to you, just like this that we do, right? With our coaching and with putting this content out for everybody. Like if we don't have boundaries, we don't ever have time to do this. And so as women, as employees, as mothers and wives and all of the hats that we wear, If y'all didn't see Sandra wearing all of her hats, you had to watch season 1 episodes because that was great. But we wear all of these hats, so we've got to set boundaries so that we have the structure to have the relationship with God. And so if you're struggling with boundaries, it's not because you don't love God enough though. It's often because you love people so dearly, but you haven't learned that you're not their God, that you have limits that matter too. And so you have to be very careful to set your boundaries, to set your rhythms and routines in a manner that it gives you the time to spend with God and the time to do the things that you're supposed to do, the assignments He has given you, and not all of the superwoman things that you're trying to take on. That's where boundaries help.
That's good. Sandra, let's talk about obedience and overextension. That is my second name, overextension. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
But maybe I'm not really kidding, but yeah. This is my life every day, every week, every month. And God is calling me out of it. So thank you, ladies, for doing this topic, because this is me. This is for me. I remember as a newlywed, I remember wanting my husband's stomach to be full every single time. You know how, I don't know if you guys have heard this old wife's tale where they said that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I was ready to give my husband food till he would drop dead, right? So every night I would cook, I would set the plate, I will fan the food, the meat, the veggies. I mean, you name it. I was trying to get to my husband's heart through his stomach. I had no idea that this man was waiting for me to come perform my wifely duties. I'm so sorry, babe. I know, I know. If we could go back, we would do some of these things right. But I'm saying this because obedience is knowing the heart of God. Overextension is going on your own lane. I felt like all these things I was doing, all these things, everything was to give him my best. But was it the best for him? So whenever you see yourself being overextended, ask yourself, is this the best I should be giving? Because I know we're talking about, this is more for faith women, women that are Christians, right? But even in the real world, when you show up at work, when you show up for that task or that project, there are specific things that are needed from you. If you end up doing everything else but the one thing that they actually ask from you, you have just failed in your task. So like Terry said, when you say no to some things, you give yourself room to say yes to what really matters. Be obedient. Now, if you look at scriptures, when I remember a few years back when I was looking through my life and I was asking God, what can I give up? What can I give up so I can say yes to you? God took me to this passage where Saul, the king of Israel, the very first king of Israel, he couldn't wait, right? He was supposed to wait for Samuel so they could have the sacrifice done before they go into war. And he couldn't wait. He had to do it himself. And then when Samuel shows up, Samuel quotes this most popular verse in the Bible. Well, I don't know if it's the most popular, but anyway, Samuel quotes this verse in the Bible that has become kind of popular. It says, obedience is better than sacrifice. I want to tell you, lady, I want to tell you that is watching over there. Your obedience is better than all the time wasting sacrifice you can do. Put yourself through the fire. Put yourself through the ringers. Do everything you can. If it is not what God has called you to, even if it's just that one thing that God has called you to, if it's not that one thing and you've just done everything, it's a waste of time. And nobody wants to be wasting their time. So I would tell you one thing. Please, when you see yourself being stretched thin and you're exhausted and you're running 100 miles per hour, doing everything for everybody,
Is it really worth it? Because more than half of the time, when God calls us to do something, it's usually one thing at a time. It's usually one thing at a time. So as we go through this life together, as we begin to build what God has called us to build, as we begin to walk in our calling and in the ministry that God has put in front of us, make sure you're being obedient and not overextending yourself because you're just one person, but He is all of it. And if He can give you that assignment, you better believe He knows exactly what He wants you to do and how He wants you to go about it. That's what I'm going to say for now.
Yes, that's good. Thank you, Sandra. I think about practicing faithful boundaries is so key if you are in leadership, if you are in ministry, if you are serving in any capacity where you're serving people, whether it's in your family, whether it's on your job. It's so key to practice those faithful boundaries. And so, one of the things that you need to understand is the rhythms that are in your life. Our lives, just like the weather, goes through seasons. And so there are times when there is going to be a busy season, right? Your calendar may be full, but that is not the standard. It may just be for a season. And so I don't want you to think that you need to be booked and busy every single day, every single week of every single month, every year. That is not sustainable. But if there is a few weeks where, all right, I gotta go. We just gonna be busy this season. Then look at the next season of your life and build in times where you can rest and get the refill that God wants to give you. And so I am very big on just making sure I look at my calendar frequently. I like to at least do a quarter where I'm looking at my calendar so that I can build in rest. If I see that every single weekend is busy, I'm taking something off because I need some time where I can just do nothing. And that's okay. I think the big thing about establishing boundaries is giving yourself permission to just rest and do nothing and just sit in God's presence and just allow Him to refill you. Even though the Sabbath was built in the Old Testament, a lot of people practice it now because it gives yourself opportunities to just reflect. I recommend trying to do a day of rest weekly. If you're unable to do it weekly, at least twice a month. Building some time where you don't have anything in the agenda, you're not going out, you have some moment where you can just take a nap if you wanted to, watch some TV if you wanted to, but you're not filling up your calendar with a bunch of things. So definitely understand the rhythms of your life and building in rest accordingly. You have to prioritize time with God. Life is meant to do life with the Lord. He created you so that you could do it with him and not apart from him. Apart from him, you can do nothing. And so build in that non-negotiable time where you're having a date with your father. That gets you to refill. And the perfectionist in you is probably thinking, well, I don't have an hour to spend in the morning. No, I didn't say build in an hour. I just said non-negotiable time, right? So if it's 5 minutes, if it's 5 minutes 3 times throughout the day, he cares about your obedience more than he cares about your formula for doing it. So making sure that you are abiding with the Father and not trying to do life apart from him. Those are two essential boundaries. And then also prioritize and delegate. Think about the things that only you can do. Only I can be a wife. I'm not delegating my wifely duties to somebody else, right? And so there are things that only you can do. And then there are things that other people can do. And it may not be like you would do it, but it can be done. And so think about the things that are in your life that you can delegate that will get accomplished and free yourself from the burden of it needing to be perfect and it needing to be like you. Ladies, do you have any closing reflections?
I I mean, I'm listening to you and it's like you're talking to me, Coach Charm. Like this is for me. I am seriously convicted in this area. One of the things that I, it just fascinates me every time I think about how Jesus lived his life on earth. He didn't get to do everything, like Terry pointed out. He didn't get to heal everyone. He didn't get to go to every single gathering. And you would think like, wow, isn't he missing out on healing this person, that person? In fact, the Bible recorded as many as touched him. So you had to come get it, right? He didn't go looking for every single person. There were so many people that needed him, but he went to few of them that he wanted to get to. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because even when Christ did not finish everything on earth, guess what? God gave Paul the assignment to continue. And that's where we have most of the New Testament. So we have to trust that even when we don't get to finish everything that seems to be on our plate, God will make a way. All we got to do is simple, just obey. That means we have to have a relationship with him so we can spend more time with him and he can explain what he needs from us each day. And I think that's the hardest part, right? Going to the Father daily, asking him for help, needing him to explain what he wants. I don't think most of us want to do that. We will rather go do everything that we are not actually assigned to and then turn around and blame God for being exhausted. So I just want to end with this. Please, if you're that woman, that person, resting is not a reward for finishing everything on your plate. Resting is a commandment. Take it.
Good. That's good. I just wanted to acknowledge that we've thrown out a lot of words here, words like rhythms and routines and delegation. I'm not going to give away my age. If you know it, I'm sorry. But that says enough. But I just want to acknowledge that all of those words at this point in my life, I've come to realize that I was never taught any of those things. I was never taught what that means. And still, I've just been over the last year introduced to those things. And even though I saw some of that modeled in my life, it was never taught to me. And so I just want to ask you if rhythms and routines and boundaries and words like that are delegation, if those are things that are new to you, put it in the comments and let's have a conversation about what that looks like because everybody doesn't know. We may have some 20 something year olds, new moms that are like, I don't know what rhythms you're talking about. I'm juggling babies and diapers and that's one thing. But then I also just wanted to mention that taking that time away too with God, if you don't know how to pray, if you don't know how to read the Bible or study the Bible, if you don't know what those words mean when you try to read it, it might be because you're reading a version that's not a language that you easily understand. There's lots of those out there. If that is you, you can start with something as simple as a gratitude journal to just write down, God, I see these things. I see you working in my life in these ways. I just want to thank you. Thank you for the hard day because it's given me resilience and let me know I am stronger than I thought I was. The simple reflections on things that you can be thankful for in a day is a good place to start with these things.
Faithful and whole is key. So this wraps up this season of talking about I'm tired. We're not going to hear this anymore this year. And so we started off going deep so that you can thrive the rest of the year. So our next series is going to be the Loving Well series. So I hope that you'll join us next week.
So if this is you that we've been talking to today, let this be your declaration, your affirmation. I honor God by stewarding my energy, my time, and my calling. I release the need to be everything to everyone, obedient without being overextended. I give from overflow, not exhaustion. Boundaries are not a lack of faith, they're an act of trust. And so take a deep breath and know you are not failing, you are learning how to be faithful and whole. Thanks for joining us today on Coach, Faith, and Living. If this episode challenged you or changed you, send it to a friend so the breakthrough doesn't stop with you. Tap follow and join the community. Stay connected. Season 2 is all about bold faith, real identity work, and becoming the woman God designed you to be. Walk in purpose, lead with courage, and live out your faith. We love you, we're covering you, and we'll see you in the next episode.